Okay, hello everyone. So I've made the decision to finally sit down and talk about my experience, things I've learned, tips and tricks, and everything in between for semester at sea. If you don't know already, I was on the fall 2024 Voyage, so it was technically last semester, and it changed my life. I have a new perspective, I think, of everything in the world. I do things differently now that I'm off of semester at sea. I know that I was so extremely nervous and excited, overwhelmed. I didn't know what to think when preparing to leave for SAS, and so I wanted to kind of make this video to prepare whoever else is either interested or maybe going on this program in the future. I wrote out like an entire list, hold on, let me show you, of things that I want to cover in this video, so I apologize if it's long. Put it on 2x speed and just listen to it in the background if you need to, but I'm just going to be talking a lot about my personal experiences and takeaways that I've made throughout my voyage, especially upon reflecting, because I'm not even sure in that moment I knew that things were going to change for me, or yeah, I don't know. So without further ado, let's get this started. So I'm gonna kind of part this video into different sections, and I'm going to be talking about specific things for these sections rather than just rambling on random facts. I have kind of a system I'm going to do. So, got my coffee? So the first section I'm going to kind of dive into is just ship life in general. When writing this down, I was unaware of really how much I could go into detail with things that happened on the ship, roommates and cabins and friends and the pool and tanning in the gym. So if I don't cover everything and you have more questions, feel free to leave a comment and I will make another video, because I could actually probably talk about this for years. But I'm going to talk about picking your cabin and your roommate. So the way that this works is that you first are probably going to be either picking your roommate or deciding to do a random roommate situation, which either is fine. I decided to pick my roommate, and so I met my friend Kaylee, my previous roommate Kaylee, on the Instagram. I think there was like a semester at sea fall 2024 Instagram. We DM'd, we FaceTimed, and she was awesome. So I was like, yeah. So just decided to put our name down for an outside double, which is technically a premium cabin. And so I'll kind of explain how the cabin situations work. There are only 3 floors you could live on, and the first floor is basically all, the majority of it is not students, and it wasn't for my voyage at least, but it might be different because our voyage was a little bit smaller. But anyway, you have 3 different floors and you do not get to choose your floors, but on these specific floors you have 2 sets of halls, and the stairs are kind of the divider in between them. And the way it works is that if you purchase a premium cabin, you get a window, and so you'll be technically an outside room. Also, when you have a premium cabin, you're only going to have 1 roommate, so that means that it's an outside double. But if you don't specify, if you're okay with having 2 other roommates, if you're not needing to upgrade to the premium room, then you would be getting a standard cabin, but you can preference having a specific person as your roommate as well, so that goes into play, but you're not ever guaranteed. Like, I didn't for sure know that Kaylee was my roommate until we went in that first day and saw our names on the door. So yeah, that's kind of how that situation works. It's all kind of up to you, and if you're willing or wanting to pay a little bit extra to get a window and a little tiny bit more space. But the cabins really aren't that big. I'm sure you've seen videos and TikToks and whatever, and I'll insert videos here. So either way, it's going to be a new experience, and no matter what type of cabin you end up getting, I think it'll be perfect because you don't necessarily spend a whole lot of time in your cabin. We spent time in my cabin a lot because it was an outside double, so it was a little bit more space than the 3-person that my other friends had. So we spent more time in our room, but they didn't necessarily spend a lot of time in theirs because they were in ours. I hope that's kind of making sense. And then with your room, you have a stewardess who comes every other day and cleans your entire room. So she'll make your beds, or he will make your beds, clean your shower, take out your trash, just make sure that it's tidy and that you're not having unneeded, or you're not sneaking in like banned items or whatever. We had no problems with this at all, and it was actually kind of funny because you got to know your stewardess a little bit better. Ours was really quiet and super sweet, but yeah. You do have a stewardess, and that's like a perk. People are like, oh my gosh, how are you gonna be living in a dorm room for the next semester when you're a senior in college? Like, you're past that. And I'm like, my dorm room didn't have a stewardess who was taking out my trash and making sure my room was clean every other day. So I'm living, you live in luxury on this ship. You absolutely do. And then kind of surrounding classes, you're required to take 4 classes, one of those being the global studies class that's required. If you for some reason need to add another class and have 5 on your schedule, they can make accommodations, but you have to reach out with your advisors to make sure that that's able to work out. But I had 3 different classes, and my classes were my favorite classes I've ever taken in college. They were fun. It was a small enough class that I paid attention and enjoyed and learned more about the professor and got really interested in what they had to say each time. It was such a valuable component to my semester at Voyage that I am so glad that I took the time to like really get to know the people in my class and professors. And although they're kind of random classes that maybe you wouldn't be taking on campus, they are different for a reason because you're on semester at sea. But classes, you can pick your schedule. It kind of works as any type of university does, so you get like allotted time and date where you can go in and pick your classes really quickly and hope that they're not filled. I will say that the most difficult challenge for me was understanding my course schedule and making sure that it aligned with the things that I needed here at KU. Because I'm graduating this semester, so like I really had to make sure that turnaround was going to be smooth. But just talk with your advisors and make sure everything's on board, and it will take a while to get your class schedule figured out, I will say. Another thing about your classes is that if you don't have specific courses that you need an equivalent for and you're just taking classes to get credits for, absolutely, 1, read the syllabus, figure out when and where they're going for their field class. Not necessarily where they're going, but I would say when, which country you'll be in, what day, and try to pick something that you think will align with your travel group. You won't really know. Like, let me clarify. When I got my courses all put down, I had no idea. I was just hoping my roommate would be in one of them. She wasn't. I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anyone in my classes. You're kind of hoping for the best, but I will say that if you can pick a country where you know there's less that you're interested in doing and getting done, I would pick that class that has that field class in that country. This is hard to explain. Let me give an example. So there was a course that I really wanted to take in marketing, and it was really cool, and it was supposed to be in South Africa. That was the field class, but in the back of my head I knew that I really wanted to go shopping in South Africa. I wanted to go to the winery in Stellenbosch. I wanted to shark dive. I wanted to skydive. I wanted to go to Boulder Beach and see the penguins. And so there was so much that I already wanted to do. I didn't think that adding on a class where I actually had to go off the ship and leave my friends to like take this field class there, I just felt that that would take time away from my experience in South Africa. So I decided to do 2 in Vietnam, not knowing how much there was to Vietnam. So you kind of are able to pick and choose your battles a little bit beforehand, and then you regret it a little bit later on. But I will say that if you go into the mindset of like, I have 3 classes that I could choose from for filling this equivalent or for that I'm really interested in, pick the one that you're interested in and pick the one that look at the country in which the field class is going to be happening, because that definitely changes things. But as for field classes are basically a field trip with your class. So like I said, you have 4 classes. One is the required global studies course. That class does not have a field trip whatsoever, so you don't really have to carve out any time for that specific course. For the other ones, they're individually going to have a field trip associated with the course, so it'll have a specific date and the country and city, and you don't always know what the class is going to be doing. For my ethics and leadership class, we didn't know what we were doing until we left that morning of the field trip, and our professor didn't know either. But yeah, field classes are kind of dependent on what this study abroad program wants you to do and is able and available to get you to be able to do. I had a food and literature class, one of my favorite courses ever, and we went in Vietnam day 1 and did a cooking course and then toured the city market, like outside city market, and got to try different foods. And that was the most unique and insane experience. And I've never even taken a cooking class. So being able to say that I did it in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam was like, that's insane. And so that also got me outside of my comfort zone and allowed me to make friendships with people in my courses a lot more than what I would do if I was just sitting in a basic lecture. But yeah, those are kind of field classes. It's dependent on what your course is about, the topic that you guys are talking about. And it's also dependent on what semester at sea can actually allow and get you guys the availability and time and space and resources to get those things done. Okay, so now I'll talk about the events within the semester at sea community, not necessarily events going on in the countries. There are a couple different scheduled like day events, and the two that come to mind are Neptune Day and Sea Olympics. The other kind of events that I'm talking about take place on their own time while you're on the voyage, like while you're at sea. So I'll kind of explain that in a second. But Neptune Day is basically when you pass the equator. It is something that a lot of different big ships celebrate, so it's not just a semester at sea thing. But the reason why we do it is because a lot of other ships have done fun celebrations to pass the equator. And I'm not even going to say that they're fun for the, what are they called, like cargo ships and whatnot. They do like hazing stuff, I think. But Neptune Day on semester at sea is like a spin-off of it. So whenever you pass the equator, usually like there's the honking of the horn and everyone's screaming, and then the next day you'll wake up and it's going to be a whole Neptune Day celebration. There's like a script that your professors are all dressed up in, ship kids, lifelong learners, and you basically have to go through a different course of events or like tasks to get done to be, oh gosh, what was it called? You're a polywog before you cross the equator, and then you're a shellback after. So I'm a shellback. But once you finish all the tasks that you have to do, like kiss a fish, get slimed, etc., you become a shellback, and it's just a fun day filled with no classes and just do whatever you want type of vibe. You get like a free day without classes. Also, I don't think I noted this, but classes are on an AB schedule. So let's say you leave India and you have a 7-day sea stretch, so you're on the sea for 7 days and 6 nights. Whatever you left off with before India is what you'll start with. So the last class that I had taken before getting to India was an A day, then the next would be B day when we leave, and then it would just keep going. Okay, next I'm going to talk about Sea Olympics. Sea Olympics was one of my favorite days ever on our voyage. I don't know why, but it was just so happy. You're basically split off into different seas dependent on where you're living on the ship. So in my hall, my section of the hall, we were the Bering Sea, so we had our black t-shirts and our color was black. But there's different seas like Arabian, Yellow, Bering, Baltic. There's a bunch, and then the lifelong learners / teachers have their own sea, and it's just so fun. You meet with your seas before the Olympics and you decide what events you would like to see, if you'd like to compete or not, and just kind of get a gauge as to the competition. And then I think like the sea captains go and decide on the actual events, every sea's kind of opinions, and then they decide like, okay, we're going to be doing a Kahoot, we're going to be doing Wordle or basketball, volleyball, different. Yeah, they just kind of finalize the competition of what events are going to take place. And then you have a while to prepare, so people are doing dances and getting posters and banners made, and I really wasn't a big help with like the behind the scenes beforehand because I get nervous. But what I will say is that if you get the opportunity, please go hard and be like a trooper, have so much team spirit, hype up your team. And then once the Olympics is there, you compete. So I only signed up for like the Wordle or the Connections, one of those two. They were both events. But you compete. Volleyball is so much fun. Basketball is so much fun to watch. You're able to watch synchronized swimming. It's just good vibes. Everyone's in such a high spirit. And then there's like the lip sync battle at the end, and that was just so funny. Like, I mean, hilarious. And really all of the seas go crazy. Like, they do a lot more than you're ever even expecting, and they practice. They have so much time. Like, they're practicing so much. So Sea Olympics I think is one of my favorite days. Okay, but those are the two events that I was talking that are carved out of your class schedule. Now I'm going to be talking about different events that take place on the ship while classes are still going on / like later in the evening when classes are getting done, but while you still have class that day. The first thing that I'll mention is talent shows. I think we had 3. We had 2 student / lifelong learner faculty talent shows, and then we had our crew talent show. I don't really need to give you a rundown of what a talent show is, but the best talent show is at the end of the year and the crew comes out, and I think ours was like the day before Sea Olympics, so the stretch that Sea Olympics / crew talent show is on was so amazing. They get out and they like show up, like you are blown out of the water, and it's so fun. But talent shows are a good way to like understand who these people are and what talents they have, and gives you another thing to talk about at sea. And then There's also a lot of clubs. And so the cool thing about SAS is that every voyage is different. You have different crew, different faculty, different voyagers, and so you have different interests. And the way that clubs work is that they hold like a club night, and it's in the Union, and whoever wants to come comes. And then yes,
want to go to lunch?
Okay, bye. But Semester at Sea hosts a night, I think within that first week of your voyage, to introduce whatever clubs that you want to pitch to our voyage. So people get like in this really long line, they'll come up and they'll say like a 30-second pitch of like why they want to create this club and what this club offers. And no one's really denying the clubs, it's just more like a way for students to get involved and like have their own opportunity to show off what they want to do at the same time as everyone else. And then afterwards you can like go sign up for clubs and get involved. And I joined clubs all throughout the voyage. It wasn't like I went to this event and had to sign up right then and there. If you are into games, we have Lido Terrace. Lido Terrace is like my favorite room. It was also a room that one of my business leadership classes was in. And this has the piano and a bunch of different games, and that's the game room. So at night you go in there and you can just play games, hang out, play the piano. You can also join a C family. 10 out of 10 would recommend. At the beginning of the semester they ask if you'd like to have a C family, and basically you're paired with a lifelong learner or someone on faculty or staff, and you have different people and they're all kind of like your little family. So my ship dad, his name was Marty. He's so awesome and I loved my ship family. We met like once every other stretch, I would say. Got a cake. We had so much ice cream cake. If you can get an ice cream cake, get it. It's like half ice cream. It's so amazing. But it's just a good way to get involved and then meet people outside of your bubble as well. And then lastly, for the events section that I want to talk about today is drink night. There are several drink nights throughout the semester. I was already 21 on the ship, so it was just like I don't really care. Like I've been over the mentality of I need to drink to have a good time, if you get what I'm saying. So I wasn't like as passionate, but basically they give you a voucher for 2 drinks. You still have to pay extra for these drinks on these specific drink nights. They take a lot of precaution to make sure that you're not going out of your way to give people other drinks and like you're drinking the right amount. Basically you either get 2 glasses of wine. These 2 glasses are each individually poured and individual prices, and or a beer, but you get 2 drinks out of wine or beer. I'm not gonna lie, packs a punch. Oh, also there's the alumni ball. I'm not going to talk much about that as well. That's a big event. That's just to kind of initiate you into really being an alumni, I would say. You get a really fancy meal. It's like, I don't know. I'm not going to talk a lot about alumni ball because that's just a whole different story, but you wear fancy dresses and you look really pretty and you sit there and you eat and you're just sad because you're about to leave and I don't know, really cool experience though. Okay, next I'm going to be talking about kind of the things you need to know about traveling in country. Like I said, this list could go on forever, so if you have questions about specifics, I'm more than happy to answer those, but I'm just gonna give you a rundown because traveling in country was a lot of work and no one really talks about that. So I apologize, but I want to make it known. You have your sea stretch before getting to the country to plan the country that you're going to. So we had like a sea stretch before we got to Portugal, but then we only had 3 days in between Portugal and Morocco at sea. So planning is crucial. It's hard to do. You're gonna have to put down your debit card more times than not just to cover everyone's expenses, and then they'll pay you back. I will say that you should absolutely download Venmo or Cash App because we ran into problems where people didn't have that, and so they never like got the chance to pay. Just keep that in mind. I would absolutely have those handy. But planning does take a lot of work. I didn't have any sort of Wi-Fi package, so there are about 4 different computers up in the library that you all have to wait for to be free, and then you all kind of crowd in around your one computer, especially if there's so many people there, and you have to plan your trip together. So it takes a lot of coordination, a lot of effort, and it's a lot of money to plan. So I just would go in, if you're going on semester at sea, knowing that you will spend a lot and that these are experiences that you're spending your money on rather than like physical things. I'm just gonna tell you right now, it's stressful. Juliet was our planner on my voyage of my friend group, and I thank her for that because I don't think I could do it. There's usually like 1 or 2 people that can help plan, and then the others just are like, I'll Venmo, which was mostly what I did. Okay, this is kind of the last section I have written down. So it's my miscellaneous / random section of this video. And these are more like specific things that I noticed or learned and just want to let you know about. As you saw, I just took a drink of coffee. I'm a coffee connoisseur, and I want to let you know that they have an open coffee like latte. I don't think it's latte. Maybe it's cappuccino, regular coffee, and hot chocolate station open 24/7 in Berlin, which is the main restaurant and the main floor. But it's nothing gourmet. They just have some sugar packets outside of it, Splenda and whatnot. And there's also like hot water for tea, I believe. So that's open 24/7 and it's also free. Bring your travel mug and you'll get a coffee every day, I promise you. Also for coffee, they have the snack bar and the pool bar, which are open a lot of the time. I think in the library, the snack bar is open 24/7, but the pool bar is kind of dependent on weather because it's by the pool and it's not open all night. But you can buy specialized lattes at these places. I always got an iced Vietnamese coffee. If you're on this voyage or if you just see that offered anywhere, it's sweet, so just know that, but it is so good. The snack bar is where I spent literally half of my time when on the ship. We'd be getting popcorn. They had snacks from home, so like Skittles, Snickers, Oreos, Diet Coke. They just had like an array of different things that you couldn't really get specifically in these countries we were going to. So I always got a Diet Coke. The smoothies at the smoothie bar are delicious. But yeah, coffees are available there as well, and so I'm just putting that out there. They also make mean breakfast croissant, like ham, egg, and cheese thing. And that's where you meet and get to know a lot of the crew members. Shout out Joyce, shout out John. Like I could talk about them all. Yeah, that's kind of the coffee situation slash pool bar, snack bar situation. We got ramen noodles like every night. Another fun thing about semester at sea is that professors slash the lifelong learners, they're given the opportunity if they want to give like a speech or a talk. I want to call it like a TED Talk. That's kind of what it is, about a subject that they're passionate about or know a lot about. You're not required to go to these. It's just kind of like they're just presenting their ideas to you rather than like a class. We loved going to these, and a lot of these professors have like the most insane backgrounds ever, and so they have so much knowledge and experience, and to hear them talk about something that they're even more passionate about than just what they're sharing in class is like really awesome. And you can tell that they're like, they've devoted their life to this subject sort of thing. And I had no idea that that was a thing, and I think that's really cool that you get the opportunity to really just learn all the time. The next point I want to make is the downtime that you have. I went into this, I think, pretty prepared. I brought a lot of stuff for a small little scrapbook, a little tiny mini phone printer, and I filled my time up a lot of the time making these scrapbook pages, as well as I read all the time. I brought a good slew of books. I read all the time. I brought my Kindle. We watched movies, so I would recommend bringing like a cable cord. The TV's also preloaded with a lot of new releases, so that's really fun, and like older movies and TV shows. I watched the first 2 seasons of White Lotus for the first time ever because they were already preloaded on our TV. So but just be aware that there's a lot of downtime, and it gives you a lot of time for reflection. I journaled my entire voyage. Like almost every night I would go up and journal outside on the top deck, or I would sit in my bed and journal before bed, just like kind of where my mind was at. And I think it'll be really insightful to like look back on and understand what I was going through and how it shaped me then and now. But yeah, like I said, just understand that there is a lot of downtime and it's okay. I went to the gym almost every single day, so I want to recommend going to the gym, and I treated it as like a group workout with me and my friends. So that was also a way to like kill downtime and got you like sweating. There was yoga we went to, sunrise yoga, sunset yoga, HIIT workouts. As for food, you are fed breakfast, lunch, and dinner every time that you are on the ship. Let's say that we're in a specific country and you go back to the ship in the middle of being in that country to like stay the night for the rest of the time you're there. You will be fed breakfast, lunch, and dinner buffet style per usual. And sometimes the food in the port that you're in is a little bit better when you're like stopped and docked. Not necessarily always, but yeah, they cook about the same 20-ish meals, I would say, on repeat. They'll change different like names and flavors. They're pretty good at labeling, so if you're allergic or have any allergens in the food, you'll most likely know. There's always a salad bar. Breakfast is delicious. I would say that that was my favorite meal though, because I really got hooked on the yogurt bowls that we would make. Shout out Marley, she showed me those yogurt bowls. Food's pretty decent. I would say it's like, I mean, it's not like, I don't know, like I liked it. People hated on it, but I mean, and I will say by the end I was over it, but I think that's like basically me with everything. When I know something's coming to an end, I'll find like a way to critique it. You also have the grill that you can go up and order on, and like I said, they serve like breakfast, lunch, dinner type of food options. I always got like the grilled chicken sandwich or the cheeseburger, hot dog, or fries. And those are like the American style food, would be the grill where you have to pay a little bit extra, but you get the buffet free. I feel like food's different for everyone. I only have 2 more points, so I'm going to try to wrap this up a little bit quickly. Taking your luggage home, that was a big issue for me mentally. It really did not change anything for me actually, but from Thailand I had to get rid of a good slew of clothes that I did not need, want, or care to have to bring home, and I'd rather my souvenirs fit than these specific items. It was stressful, but everyone's packing at the same time, and so it feels like it wasn't like when you were packing to go on semester at sea and wanted to finish stuff. It was just more, okay, everyone else is doing it, I just gotta do it. It's just stressful in the sense that like packing sucks, I would say. You're able to ship a bag home for an extra like 400 bucks, I think was what it was, so it's a little ridiculous in the price. Might have been like 1,000, I can't even remember. I didn't ship anything home, I just took my 3 luggage suitcases and just went on. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about scholarships. There are so many scholarships that you can apply for. I applied for all of the ones I could. I ended up getting quite a good amount of money. I ended up getting the scholarship as well for being the social media assistant. If you are applying for scholarships, absolutely apply for a job just because you can. But yeah, that is all I have for today's video. If I did not clarify something specifically that you were interested in or like are still confused on, let me know. I can make more videos if you have other questions regarding SAS. And I will see you in the next one.